Rice again.
Arsenal fans shocked to discover that the one-in, one-out policy continues on the pitch as we gain a very big win, but lose two of our best players. This is Not That Kind of Gooner, an Arsenal podcast, and we are coming to you after Arsenal's 5-0 win against Leeds. And I did say that we would annihilate them on, was it Thursday? So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about kind of the individual performances that we thought were significant from that match. We're going to talk about Eza's arrival at Arsenal, and we're going to talk about some of the bad news from the game. So we'll get into all of that. As always, I'm Sham. You can follow me on Twitter at Shamsdale, and joining me today is none other than Curran, who you can follow on Twitter at CurranBOP. No, it's different now. Did you check?
No, it's still the same.
No,
the same.
It's still BOP. Okay. Curran, how you doing?
I'm okay, man. I'm just looking forward to just having a chat. Really, I'm not really. I think a lot of people have stopped panicking, which has been nice. So, just nice and chill. No need to go crazy over unless you want to grab some clips. Nothing really to go crazy over. It's a good weekend. Yeah.
I think just about everything went the way that you wanted to, aside from injuries.
Mm-hmm.
And I think everyone entered this week kind of having this deal with themselves that if we weren't convincing against Leeds, then maybe it was time to start panicking. I think a lot of people jumped that gun pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I remember a lot of people had some things to say about the performance at United and tried to project one game out across 38 matches. But yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about what we saw this weekend. But first, I just want to get your thoughts on the Eza signing, because I don't think you and I have really had a chance to talk about that. And it came out of nowhere. It looked like he was going to go to Spurs, and I think Spurs are going to be a decent side already this season. So I was kind of worried about how good they would be with Eza. And then all of a sudden, at the 11th hour, David Ornstein tweets that we're in for him and we're about to sign him. So, how are you feeling about that signing? Is that someone that you wanted to bring to the club?
Yeah, no, just a little bit. Looking at how we want to play this year, we're looking at something that is changing in terms of our offensive focus and how we want to get from one end of the pitch to the other. The last 2 years have really been a change from the more controlled, let's build out through the phases and try to break down a low block, to let's try to bait a press and try to create the space to move into. And now we're trying to move into a situation where you're not just baiting the press to create space, you're baiting the press to create transitions and transitional situations where you can move forward at pace. And if you want to do that, then you need someone that is able to release quickly, and that is Eberechi Eze. So I'm very happy. I'm very happy for the story. I'm very happy for the player. If you're anyone that's been around football, about the Premier League in the last few years, knows how infectious this guy is. His energy, his ability on the ball, his ability just to lift a stadium, lift a club. He's just good vibes. So I'm very happy at what we're looking at in terms of a signing. I'm happy with the tactical fit. I'm happy that he's able to play both outside and inside, so you can play him, even if you want to play him at a sort of a left wing position. Obviously, you would not want him to be touchline. You'd want him to be inside with that left hand side. But if you're looking at a left hand side, for example, him and Calafiori, it's looking long for people. So very happy, very, very happy with how we reacted to what had happened with Kai, and that we didn't sort of just like look at it in terms of, okay, let's see if we can do something on the cheap, or we just try and get someone in to cover. we went for the option that we all wanted, and that is refreshing, and that's very proactive from the club, and I'm very happy to see that that's happened. So he's got a week now with the squad before Anfield, and with obviously we'll mention the Martin injury and we'll mention Bakaya's injury, but with both of them injured, you think maybe he'll. I mean, you don't know if maybe Ethan will start and he'll come off if he's not quite ready in terms of being integrated into what we want to do in terms of our transition movements or our out of possession triggers. For example, we saw with Victor against Man United, he was struggling with some of the triggers in terms of when to jump in the press. So whether we actually just throw him in and see, look, you are the guy, go figure it out and go get us a win here. And yes, we should be looking for a win, and I'm sure we'll talk about that as well. But if you're looking to someone that really can, change a game, it's him. So very, very happy with the fit, the player, the story, the announcement. No matter who says what, I'm sure we'll touch on that too. You're American, but you've been here enough to know that this is a very miserable country. And, we don't like fun. We don't like people having fun. We don't like people being innovative. We like to have people be miserable and sad. That is where people thrive. So, yeah, to just be happy, and I am very happy with what we've done with this signing.
Yeah, I don't want to give too much time to that crowd who are coming out with the usual nonsense of things being cringe or weird or whatever. I think it's clear at this point that people who engage in that sort of behavior either do it because they're envious in some way, or they are doing so to troll people and get engagement, or they just aren't really emotionally intelligent people. Like you said, they're miserable. So, yeah, I don't really care what people think. I thought the announcement was beautiful, and it was really touching, just like the story. And we don't have to kind of rehash it, but this is a guy who really understands what it means to wear the badge, and this is he's living a dream. And that's kind of something that a lot of Arsenal fans can relate to. So I think that'll make him a very sympathetic figure, and I think it'll buy him a lot of time to bed in. But additionally, I think also it means that he's gonna be very driven to have an impact on the pitch. And I think at this level of the game, yeah, it's a soft factor thing, but I think when someone has that extra 5-10% motivation to really give their all on the pitch. I think that does translate. So I'm looking forward to it. I watched the video that they put up on the Arsenal website of his interview with Ian Wright, which I also thought was lovely, and I particularly loved the video from Thierry Henry, where he basically tells you're here now, you wanted to play for us, make sure that you don't make sure that you make this count for something. Because I think that is an important message to drive home. He probably is already well aware, but he's 27, right? So he doesn't have all the time in the world to make an impact at the club. He doesn't have that much time to establish himself as a club legend if he wants to do that. So it's all about coming in and hitting the ground running and really leaving it all out there. So yeah, I'm really excited about Eza. It was a great announcement, and I agreed that was not something I expected us to do, especially when Matt Law reported that we were going to be going after like bargain signings and loans. The worst part was you could feel like it probably wasn't well sourced or something like that, but also it was just so believable that we would do that. So
yeah, I mean, a lot of if you're not looking at the Athletic or Fabrizio or the quote unquote tier ones who report facts, if you're looking at someone saying their opinion, I think journalists, they tend to realize that people will take their opinions as facts. So it was quite clearly his thought was, look, they've spent a lot already. are they really going to go spend another 60 million, 70 million on a player? And he put that in an article, and no one clicked the article, and everyone just read, oh, look, they're going to maybe try for Vardy, they maybe try for this, try for bargain signings, loan signings, etc. So it was quite clear what was the issue, and how we were going to try and fix it was not so clear. And I just want people to realize that if you don't read an article, you're not really seeing what's the actual cause of what's being said. Is it someone's opinion? Is it a fact? Has it been sourced? Because remember, Matt Law is predominantly a Tottenham and Chelsea journalist. That's his beat. So he doesn't really cover Arsenal like that. And I wasn't too worried when I saw that. I was worried because of how I felt, as you said, it would be something like we maybe do, like a Vlahovic or a you know what I mean, one of those kind of like, oh look, the players on the out, we can save him sort of deals. I didn't think we'd go for Eze, even though we were linked previously. But the opportunity arose and we took it, and I'm really glad we took it because it's probably the best signing we could have asked for in this particular situation. So let's see how it progresses. Will he play at Anfield? It's more likely now, but given the Martin injury. But we'll see. We'll see how it progresses now.
Yeah, we can give our thoughts on how we line up in a bit, because I do think that is a really interesting thing to dig into. Moving on to the match, right? I think we entered this with a couple big questions that kind of would determine how a lot of people would feel about the rest of the season. And I say rest of the season like it isn't, 1% of the way in. But, people wanted to see us have a much better performance at home to a newly promoted Leeds than we had away at Old Trafford. And I think, I really want to emphasize, I think some people just were not as generous as they needed to be in how they assessed that performance. But people wanted to see, more dominance in possession, more chances created, more field tilt, kind of the factors that indicate, a good performance, as well as, more incisive and efficient actions in the final third. So people wanted to see that. I think people also wanted to see Gyökeres start to kind of register on the score sheet. And yeah, I think people just kind of also wanted to get a sense that there's something on the left that works, So kind of let's go to the first question first. What did you make of the performance? Did you think there were still like major issues that you saw with how we played, or was this convincing enough where you feel a little bit more optimistic heading into the Anfield trip?
I mean, I think neither. I mean, optimistic going to Anfield trip, I would say yes, but in terms of both sides of what you said there, I do not feel as if we're like fully clicked, or it's fully clicked into position. But I would also say that there are definitely signs that there's a work in progress here. Maybe before the first goal, I think we were a bit off it. We were still trying to figure out that from the same issues that we had at Man United, trying to find passes, trying to get through the lines. There was a lot of, for example, trying to emphasize the left-hand side, Noni and Calafiori on that overlap, Noni trying to be a bit more proactive in the first half. But we were still just trying to get into it, trying to find our feet a bit. And we did concede that shot on the edge of the area, and we did try to get a couple off ourselves. The thing is, when you look at as time goes on, there was a lot more rotation in terms of our midfield than we usually see. We didn't, especially after Ødegaard came off, and this is no slight on him. I think he's still trying to adapt to being a bit more playing with the handbrake off. He's still trying to figure that out a bit. He wants to drop. He wants to be ahead, but he also wants to be a bit more protective of the ball and really keep us moving. but he's finding his way of getting the ball through the lines a bit more and trying to get the ball up the pitch a bit quicker. And him dropping as well as going up, and then Ethan when he came on dropping and then going up, he was a bit more proactive, especially on the half turn, being able to just move the ball through the thirds a bit easier. And then obviously the goal came, and that kind of settled us a bit. And then obviously before half time, Saka hits that goal, trademark Saka finish. And then the second half, we really come out with the handbrake off, Gyökeres left channel, standard Gyökeres goal, and then we kind of get into it a bit more. We find our rhythm a bit better. The ball isn't pinging about. The ball is staying on the floor. It's going recycling well. We're creating well, and then fourth and fifth can't go in, and it's a happy days. But I think there is still some semblance of trying to find where we're going attacking wise, but there is also a lot of rotation that is happening, a lot more fluency as the game moved along. So yeah, there is bits of both sides, and I'm never gonna be confident going to Anfield, but I'm a lot more happy than I was after United for sure.
Yeah, yeah. I think I want to say maybe in like the first 15 minutes of the match, it definitely felt like clunky, and Zubamendi for one, I think was missing a few very straightforward passes. Not to single him out. I mean, everyone was kind of not fully at the races yet, but I do think I think they bailed themselves out with the corner kick or with the goal from the corner. Because it kind of put them in the game state where Leeds had to open up a little bit more, and I think it just made things easier for us to play in that regard. But yeah, I did think that we grew into the match as we got further along. I think maybe there were a bit of nerves or something. Yeah, just the tension kind of settled after the first goal or two, and players started really expressing themselves. So, and I, like you said, I think there's been a lot of change in the team this year, right? I mean, we're at 7 signings now. If you want to count that one kid that we signed from Shamrock Rovers, that's 8 signings.
Yeah.
Maybe if Kivior leaves, apparently the rumor is we'll bring in a left back. So, there's been a lot of overturn in the squad, and yeah, I just think players are still coming to grips with each other. Also, I kind of wonder about the dynamic of Madueke and Calafiori on the left-hand side, as opposed to someone who cuts in, like Martinelli or Trossard or Eza will. So I think that's something that's being worked on. Wineri, I think he had a really interesting performance in that, he came on and I think he showed more directness than Odegaard did, but also I think off the ball, I don't know, he kept on picking up the ball a little deep for my liking, which is maybe a bit of a nitpick. But yeah, I wonder about Wineri in terms of whether I'd start him next week. I think he looked good, he looked direct. I just think off the ball, his positioning was a little weird to me at times.
Mm-hmm. We changed, didn't we? We changed because before Odegaard came off, Odegaard was the one backing the 2 strikers. So basically we'd have Saka and Gyökeres lead the press and Odegaard back it. But we changed to our usual DM leading the press and Ethan a bit higher. So yeah, the structure changed, and I think that we tried to accommodate Ethan because obviously Odegaard's the one that leads the press usually.
Yeah. Yeah, just I think that makes sense too. Just kind of get him out of or kind of remove the burden of leading the press from him. But yeah, I think all in all, I'm pretty happy with what we did. Obviously, that we're not in mid-season form yet, and players are still figuring each other out. Gyökeres as well. I think 2 goals and looked good in those moments, but there were situations where his hold-up play left a lot to be desired. Didn't win a duel that I think he should have won, and I generally just get very nervous about low touch strikers. He reminds me a lot of how Aubameyang played with us. Um, but yeah, I think generally it was pretty good. So that kind of brings me to the second point, or the second question that we all had going into this match, which was, how would Gyökeres do? It would, Old Trafford, really hard place to go for your first competitive match, but I think people were kind of willing to forgive that situation. But now you had, again, newly promoted side at home, and people kind of wanted to see Gyökeres, who'd been advertised kind of as a flat track bully, make an impact. So, what did you make of Gyökeres' performance? And kind of, I guess the better question is Gyökeres scoring 2 goals in this game enough to convince you that he should be able to do the job that we've brought him in for? Or is there something that you saw during the match that still kind of is cause for concern?
I mean, neither. Because I think 2 goals, one being a penalty, great. He smashed that penalty. That was a great penalty. And the run was lovely as well, for picking it up, really driving, beating a couple of players and putting it in the corner. That's a great goal. But I don't think that one game is enough to show either way. I think that he's still learning the press. There were some situations, he had that one chance that he scuffed because he tried to take it early and just didn't get it through. So I think that I'm happy. That's all I can say. I'm happy he scored. The touches, obviously, he doesn't have a lot of touches, but that's not a big issue. We have a lot of high touch players, especially in midfield. So if you put your chances away, I can't be upset, can I? And I can't really say anything because it's been one game. I'm not going to go crazy over it. I think that it's what we wanted him to do. As you said it best, he was brought in as meant to be a flat track bully. This was a flat track. He bullied them. That's more you can ask for right now, and it is what it is. I mean, there's no real actual. And I don't take much from this. I would take much more by, for example, the international break or the second international break or what he does over Christmas. These kind of things. Because it's, as you said, we're 1% through the season. There's nothing really to take away. I think people are too set on trying to get their takes off than realizing this is a guy that had half his preseason cut because we were haggling with Sporting and Sporting were haggling with us. And it is where it is. I mean, there's nothing really we can do about that.
I will say that is kind of one thing about this part of the season that really annoys me to an extent, which is I just feel like after these,
it is, man. It really is where it is. I can't be bothered. Like genuinely, what am I gonna do? You know what I mean? Like,
well, it's just like I understand, like that's the business, and like people need to like talk about things, but I remember after the match, I was watching NBC Sports and they were talking about what this match means, and they were kind of being asked to project it out. And it's like, it's been 2 games. We don't know. Like, these 2 matches aren't really, they're indicative of the fact that like we can have good games.
Yes.
That's all that I've learned so far. And like that we're playing a different style, and that maybe there's a good chance that over the course of the season we come to master that new way that we're playing. Yeah. But like it's just the concept of like going from match week 1 to match week 2 and being like, oh, what have you seen between these 2 match weeks? Like, have you changed who you think is going to win the title, and like who's going to finish in the Champions League places and who's going to get relegated? It's like, no, it's exactly the same as what I predicted it like at the beginning,
it's the same
or at the end of preseason,
or players or signings. Like as a lot of people know that I was a big Sesko guy. Everyone's getting on Sesko because he hasn't scored 2 goals in 2 games. Who cares? Like genuinely, like it's. I don't think that he'll stay like that, but people seem to be getting on him, and fair enough. But the same with Gyökeres, he's scoring, and I'm not going to go crazy or go either in the opposite direction. It's two games in. We were looking to this guy to get 17, 20 goals. 2 goals isn't something I'm going to go crazy over. When we get to 10, 15, 16, 17, 20, then we'll start to go, okay, yeah, he's doing it. He's really doing it. So I just think that it's just too early. And I think a lot of people have content to put out this week, and they've got to try and figure something out, because otherwise what they're going to talk about? There's nothing really to talk about. The transfers are dying out. People are just trying to sell now. Like, Eze is probably the biggest transfer of the last week, I would say. What else is there to do? I don't think a lot of teams are going crazy in the market now, because a lot of teams did business earlier in the window. It's only teams like, for example, Fulham, who still haven't done anything, or maybe Palace to replace Eze, or teams that have lost their players, trying to replace them. These kind of things. The big business is pretty much done. So there's nothing much transfer-wise to talk about. So you've got to really stretch out whatever segments you have. So it's... I get it, but it's not for me. I'm not going to go crazy over some takes because it's 2 weeks in.
Yeah, for me with Gyökeres, all I was looking for was, can you score, or can you produce, a game-changing moment?
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't classify his goals as game-changing, but...
No. But they could
he did score.
Be in a game. That is a moment that you can change a game with, for sure.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think the first goal he scored was particularly convincing, because for me personally, I would watch, because he scored a bunch of those goals with Sporting and with Coventry, but you would watch those goals and think to yourself, can you replicate that in the Premier League? Like, can you get the ball in the left channel, cut into the box, and dribble past 2 Premier League defenders, and then score past a Premier League goalkeeper? You know what I mean? And to see him do it, I think, was really encouraging, and just it settled my nerves a little bit to be like, oh, okay, well then maybe that's replicable in the Premier League, and maybe what he's been able to do in the Portuguese league can translate at this level. Obviously, he's not going to score 97 goals in 2 seasons, but it was just nice to kind of see it for real. And then the penalty, I honestly kind of think that was a good moment for him, not in terms of him scoring it, but I think some people had hoped that maybe Dauman would get the ball to put the penalty away, which I think, by the way, terrible idea.
Yes,
I think that would have been a really easy way to squander all that momentum and all that confidence he'd built up. But there's just that one moment where Rice is holding the ball just to kind of distract and kind of take the pressure off whoever is going to actually take the penalty. And you could just see Gyökeres just lurking behind him, just waiting to get the ball back, and just like, okay, like you did your thing, like you held the ball, give me the ball, like I want to take the penalty, don't give the ball to anyone else, this is my goal. So it's nice to have a striker who's that intent on scoring goals, because that's not something that we've had for a very long time.
No, for sure, because the thing is, if you start getting onto 4, 5, 6 games and he still hasn't scored, then it gets, because he's wired that way. He needs to score goals, and I think the longer it went, the more it gets in his head, and I think it will just get worse and worse. Him just getting that goal, and it's an actual goal, it's not a penalty. Like, actually scoring a goal that he knows he can score again and again. That is something that is really, something that he really needed. So I'm happy for him. I'm happy that he's got that off. And he's got that. He's got the goal at the stadium. He's started to tune in to what he needs to do, and I think it'll just get better, because there's still a lot for him to learn, and there's still a lot for him to improve on. So getting him that goal early, knowing that he can do that, that's all you can ask for from him.
Yeah, and also I don't think he's fully fit either. So when he gets to mid-season fitness, I think also you'll kind of see his game go up a little bit. The third thing that kind of we were looking for was did I say difference in play style? I honestly forgot what I said. It's been a day, but
Yeah. No, you did. You
but
did mention it. I mean, I mentioned it. I
yeah,
mentioned that we were trying to play a different way from being a bit more free with the ball, as opposed to having that control and that sort of slow, methodical pace through the thirds. Trying to access the
yeah,
centre a bit more, trying to be a bit more direct with how we move the ball through the thirds. That is definitely something that's much more emphasised, as well as some of our chance creation mechanisms. We've seen more of an overlap from left back than we have in previous years. We've not seen that Declan Rice underlap that we've been seeing since 23-24. We've seen more of Calafiori being a bit more wide and a bit more able to take the ball, not the ball, the man away from our winger. So I think a bit more balance from the sides, a bit more pace, a bit more directness definitely has been an emphasis this pre-season and now at the start of this new season.
yeah. And I think with Calafiori, right? I notice he's kind of occupying that lane and those spaces in the final third that maybe last season you would have seen Declan Rice in more often. I think I at least my interpretation of it is that Calafiori is getting a good number of those attacking responsibilities. And obviously like Rice is still in and around the box, but I think he's being used more so as like defensively, like as a shield against counterattacks, and when it's safe for him to do so, maybe he kind of gets further into the final third. And yeah, just the directness, like you said, the willingness to play inside the block, I think has been refreshing. And it's not just I was watching with a couple friends of mine, and one of them had bet on a parlay, and one part of the parlay involved 10 corner kicks, and I told him up front, I was like, "You're not getting to 10," and he was like,
Was
"You
it
don't
both
think so?"
sides or
Because
just the entire over the match?
10 total,
10
10
total.
total between both teams. Yeah,
Well, that's
I
not
was like, "You're
bad.
not getting to." It's not bad, but because I think it was after 45 minutes, he was like at 3 or 4,
Yeah,
and I
corners
was like,
usually
"You're."
happen in the second half, though. We really do
Yeah,
start to because players start to get a bit more leggy, and then you start to get ricochets, and you start to get guys not being able to chase the ball out. So you do get more corners in the second half. If you get 3 or 4 in the first half, you can get to 10.
you can, but the way I thought about it was, we're not playing in this way anymore, where we're funneling the ball out wide and then trying these cutbacks and crosses that opposing defenders are just going to head out for a corner, right? Because last year we were racking up the corners like crazy because that's how we primarily attacked. But this season, I think just the attacking patterns were different, and they didn't involve kind of playing on the byline so much like we did last season. So that was kind of my thinking behind the conclusion that we weren't going to get 10 corners. But yeah, it's more direct, it's more efficient, it's quicker. Although there definitely were tempo issues in the first half.
Hmm.
Yeah, and all in all, you could kind of see this being indicated by the players that we signed. Where Gyökeres is a guy who's not going to do the slow possession game, right? And Madueke, that's not really his thing either. Eza, that's a guy who's going to play inside the block. That's a guy who's going to receive centrally, and he's going to shoot from outside the box. These are all things that we weren't doing last season. And Zubimendi, right? I probably should have said him first because I think he might be the biggest change here, where he's a guy who's going to take 1 or 2 touches on the ball at most, 95% of the time, and then he's going to get it out. Like for Saka's goal, Leeds are trying to come up the pitch, and then Zubimendi intercepts in the middle third. And I couldn't help but think to myself, what's Partey going to do in that
Mm.
situation if he gets the ball there? He's gonna dally for a second. He might take a look at his options on the left and then right, and then the chance is gone, right? But Zubimendi got the ball, immediately played it out to Timber, and then Timber slid in Saka to get the goal. So I just think that quickness on the ball and that efficiency with your touches, Uh, I think that's going to kind of be the name of the game for Arsenal this season. But yeah, it's nice to not be boring in how we play. I think, last season, I think the worst part of last season was just how dull it got. And now it feels like games are just a little bit more fun to watch, which isn't everything. That's not a trophy, but it does help. It makes the journey more enjoyable.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing is obviously winning is the best medicine for anything, but the fact that we won in two such contrasting styles, and we were able to do it in two completely contrasting circumstances, whereas one, the pressure was on us in this previous game. It's a newly promoted a newly promoted side. You've got to put these lot away. You've got to make sure that you do it properly. You set a marker and you get the confidence up. That's the stadium's behind you, given the Eze unveiling. So you've got to really put a performance in that can justify what this crowd has given you. Whereas with United, the backs are against the wall. You've got your set piece goal. Can you defend? Can you get it? Can you dog it out? Can you make sure that they don't take advantage of what you've given them? Because there were chances in that game. And can you just get your box defending right? Can you defend the shots that were peppered at you? Can you get the ball in, try and clear it as much as you can? And we did it on both scenarios, and we got our 6 points. So I think that's what was most satisfying. The fact that we weren't overcome by either occasion, we weren't complacent, we weren't overly arrogant with how we played, and yes, we made mistakes, but we hung in there and we made sure that we got our 3 points both times. So that is what was most pleasing to me, and that's why I'm slightly, this team is growing on me again, and that hasn't been the case for a while. I feel like there's been times, especially this last season, obviously with the injuries and everything that happened last year, there's a lot going on, but there were times last year where it was just I had to get through the 2 hours. And that's not something I've had in a long time with this club, not since Unai. Like I've never sat there and thought, okay, let me just get through this. We drop 2 points randomly to some bullshit decision or an idiotic piece of defending or something. We can't break down a block, and then that's it. 0-0, 1-1, whatever nonsense. Got 2-2. There was so many games like that. Whereas now it feels like we've identified what the issue was and we've gone and addressed it, which is so refreshing to see, as opposed to, for example, last summer, where we just sort of were overly complacent in the window and didn't really address what we needed to address, and the same thing in January as well. It's good to see us actually taking things on the front foot and actually being aggressive and seeing what we can do rather than what we should do.
Yeah, I think this is the most impressed I've been with a transfer window from Arsenal in a very, very long time. Yeah. And it's not just the number of players we signed, right? Because I never want to be this guy who's like, I want half the team to be brand new every single season, right? But for me, we left ourselves so much to do this summer because a certain sporting director who now is blowing everything up at Nottingham Forest didn't do his job last summer. And I think a lot of people try to sugarcoat that and say, oh, well, he was good before, and you have to understand there's a lot of decision makers. And I get all that, but there was one guy whose job it was to make sure that we had backup options and backup options to the backup options. I've seen a lot of people get on Berta's back for not signing a lot of our first choice players this summer. Look what he did when the first choices weren't available. He pivoted to some great options, some inexpensive ones. The Mosquera, Kepa, and Norgard acquisitions. I think the cost efficiency of those players really did give us the wiggle room to go out and spend, 64 million on Gyökeres and 60, I think it was like 65 million on Zubamendi and 52 million on Madueke and 68 million on Eze. That doesn't happen if you go and sign Joan Garcia for 25 million, and then you go sign Mark Gahey for 40 million, and then you go sign, insert backup defensive midfielder for 35, 40 million. You know what I mean? Like, I think Berta's performance this summer really allowed us to complete the squad, because it would have been very Arsenal just to say, oh, well, we had too much to do this summer. We're just going to sign 3 or 4 guys and then hope we can address it in January. And then if we don't address it in January, we hope we can address it the next summer and just keep kicking that can down the road. But this time around, I think we didn't shy away from the fact that we had a lot of work to do and that we needed to plug all those holes in the team in order to be competitive. And so kind of when you talk about how we can win matches in different ways now, I mean, that's how well we've retooled, right? Because we can defend those leads now with we like what we did at United, right? Where we started White and Calafiori, and then when we realized that this was just going to be a battle and we just had to defend the 1-goal lead, we took both off and put on Timber and Lewis Skelly, right? And we probably would have put Norgard on for Zubamendi if we'd had that option. And we took off Gyökeres and we put in Havertz to kind of try to win those duels and be an outball and run the hard yards. And we subbed on Madueke to basically play as another left back with Lewis Skelly. So, we have those options now. We can change the face of the team, right? We can do that, but we can also play with, White and Calafiori as our fullbacks, and then Zubamendi behind, Odegaard and Eze as dual eights, and then, you can have like Saka on the right, and then pick and choose whichever left wing you want. Like let's Madueke maybe and Gyökeres and go full attacking, right? And now, in addition to kind of how multifaceted this team is, a lot of people are kind of also complaining about how we signed all backups this season, which is stupid for me for a lot of different reasons. But
I find it's just getting worse and worse. I genuinely find it hilarious how people will literally find anything because they can't help it. They need it. There's nothing to complain about, but they have to complain about something. Like, even I thought that when Eze signed, I thought maybe there was a bit of quiet. There was some peace. There was some quiet for a while. But I've seen today people complaining about Rice passing to Dalman instead of shooting or playing in Gyökeres. I've heard that now. That one is a new one. We only signed backups when the main problem we had last year was we had no backups. Playing kids on the bench, playing Josh Nichols, Nathan Butler-Oyedeji, these guys as our subs. Like, come on, man. What the whole
Butler-Oyedeji played in the Champions League.
Played in the Champions League, right? Like, this is not like the whole point of this window was to create a squad that was able to compete at the highest level. And yes, we could have used quote-unquote level raisers, and I think we have in some areas. We have signed a couple of level raisers, but again, the main thing was Saka's gone down, Madueke steps in. That's the main. Havertz goes down, Gyökeres can step in, and if the reverse happens, the same will happen. The Kai will come in and Gyökeres will go out. The whole point of this window is to make sure that there was not one game where the standards dropped. That was the whole point of this window. So if you're telling me that the window is crazy because we haven't signed, I don't know, Messi or something. I don't know what you want. It's just
Isak and Wirtz and Ekitike. That's all they want, Curran.
Yeah. Isak and Wirtz and Ekitike, right? That's what you want. Okay, so say Liverpool do get all three of those. Great. How are they? They're not going to play Isak and Ekitike together. They're not doing some Newcastle cope where it's like, oh, we're playing 4-4-2, Isak and Ekitike, and that's not happening. And honestly, if you look at how that scenario is going on, when it's not a Liverpool thing, but that whole scenario has played out over the last how many months now? 3 months,
Yeah.
and nothing's changed. The price is still 150 million, and Liverpool will not pay 150 million. And we've got a week left in the window. So, if you wanted to wait for the second or third match day to get in Isak and maybe be behind because Havertz is injured, that's not how things work. And plus, we wanted to make sure we had too many holes to fill in to get in Wirtz, Isak, Ekatike. What about Saliba's backup? What about Saka's backup? What about to get in someone that can help our creative issues in terms of, I mean, yes, Wirtz would do that, but in terms of being able to have something, a different profile in terms of being on the left and inside. Are you going to play Wirtz winger? Is that something you want to do? I don't really particularly want to see that. I'm sure he could do it, and I'm sure he has done it in the past. But I would prefer having someone that can play left winger, that's played left winger, and as they can do that, especially in our system. So I think that everyone just wants names when they're not looking at what we actually needed in the squad. What we needed in the squad was a squad that can handle 60, 65, even 70 games. That's what we needed. And that's pretty much what we have. Like, we had Mosquera play right back yesterday.
Yeah.
The signings we've made are adaptable. They're able to play in multiple positions. They're able to keep the standards at a level where we can want the standards to be kept. And Saliba doesn't have to play every game now. Gabriel doesn't have to play every game now. And the standards will still be there. So
Yeah.
I'm extremely happy with the window as it is constructed. If Kivior leaves and we get another left back in, even better. If we can somehow get Lokonga, Vieira, and Reece off the books, and maybe even go back in, if for example a Martinelli leaves or a Trossard leaves, which honestly I don't really want to do at this point in the window. But if someone does leave and we get another left winger in, that would also be cool. But we've got to transition to sales. We've got to transition to what we can do, and now we're at a position now that we're looking going into this last week of the window and thinking, okay, we don't have to do anything, but if something pops up, great. Which is a position I don't think we've ever had. That's not a position where we're like, okay, calm, the window's done. Even in 2023 or 23-24, it was sort of like we need to try and do something at the end of the window just to get us over the line, get us over the hump. Because even 20-23, when we started with that flourish, it was still sort of like, well, we started well, but could we get someone else in? I don't think we would need to think about getting someone else in. If it happens, great. If not, it's a perfectly fine window.
I even think back to the Wenger years.
Yeah.
I think was it 2011, 2012, where we didn't. Yeah, like where we didn't do much. I think we had like 2 signings or something in the window, and then we went and lost 8-2 to United because we thought, we could start the bare bones of a team after. I think it was after Fabregas and Nasri left.
Yes.
Right. And what we do? We panicked, and the last day of the window, we went and we signed 6 guys. Now, I'm glad that day happened because one of those guys is Arteta, and we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that day. And also Mertesacker came in came in there too. So we wouldn't be here right now with the squad that we're falling back in love with without that day happening. But yeah, I have not gotten over how disappointed I was last summer to be in the final day of the window and we were scrambling around for 2 positions that we needed all summer, and we brought in Neto and Sterling.
And Neto was cup tied.
And Neto was cup tied. And that's kind of the thing that I'm really happy with this window for. Is last season, if Saka goes down with an injury, that's it, we're done. If Havertz goes down with an injury, season's over. If Odegaard goes down, season's over, right? Saliba or Gabriel, same thing. Raya, same thing. There were so many singular points of failure in this team, and you can't win leagues like that. Even if we can use the injury crisis that we had as an excuse. The fact of the matter is, if we had 2 of those injuries, like we would have ground to a halt. So, you know, we're gonna go to Anfield probably without Saka and Odegaard,
Hmm.
and we're still gonna start Madueke and Eze, and then maybe like Martinelli or Trossard on the left wing, something like that, right? That's such a better position to be in. If Raya gets injured, we're still playing Kepa, who is a perfectly capable Premier League experienced goalkeeper who has at least a comparable level of quality on the ball and isn't going to make dives outside of his penalty area in an attempt, I guess, to get purposefully sent off. So, and then Saliba and Gabriel. If one of those two go down, we have Mosquera, who can play right back, right center back, left center back. So, I think we've been so smart about how we've gone about this summer, and we're already seeing the dividends of what this acquisition strategy can bring us. Where the two injuries that capsized this last season have happened again, and now I think we have a good chance of being able to cope with it.
Yeah, for sure. And to be able to actually say that, because you remember when both 2023, 23, 24, there was the whole bigger fish to fry narrative that the
Yeah.
the podcasters love to coin, and the memes and the fish frying stations and all this bullshit they were doing. Um, that is not a thing anymore. We legit have two teams. We have two teams that will compete on every level now, and there will be players that are left out of squads, not even because they're like injured, because we don't have the space on the bench. And that's never been a thing at this club. So I'm looking forward to seeing, for example, a Max play in a Carabao Cup game, or even something like a Harman Anous come off the bench in the Carabao Cup game, or something like that. Like getting players that we haven't seen yet and just getting them minutes because we have the quality and the experience in the squad that we can get a couple of youngsters off the bench, or just try and get something a bit more serious going. So it also takes off the load. It takes off the load of players. So you're not playing a Gabriel Saliba versus, I don't know, Plymouth Argyle in the Carabao Cup. You're not playing, but you're also not playing, for example, one of them with Kivior. You're playing neither of them because you have Mosquera now. You can play Mosquera Calafiori, and that would be fine. And yeah, it's just refreshing to see that you can even get a Marty Salmon in. You can get in these kind of guys because we have the strength in the squad to get these guys minutes. That's not been a thing usually. So yeah, it's very exciting to see, to be able to compete on multiple fronts. And I think we should. And I think we should expect that from this team. It's not something you shouldn't. If we lose, for example, in the fifth or sixth round of the Carabao, shouldn't be looking at it as like, oh, it just happened. It is now. It's sort of like, well, you put the squad for it. You should be using it.
Yep. Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. I don't think I think in the past I've been willing to let the Carabao Cup go and occasionally let the FA Cup go for that reason, where it's like the squad's small, you don't want to, I'm happy to not have that competition anymore because now we get to focus on the ones that matter. Well, now they all matter.
They all matter.
Now, yeah, now they all matter. Now we can win any of them, and we should be going far in all of those competitions at this point. And we should be, because now it's on Arteta. And I've always maintained that the job of a manager is to make the best possible use of your resources. So, if we have Saka and Odegaard back in a few weeks and we're starting them against, Plymouth Argyle in the first round of the Carabao Cup we play in, I'm not going to be happy about that. That's a waste of resources, right? And if we are losing in the opening rounds of the FA Cup or the Carabao Cup or whatever, and it's because we wouldn't bring on it's because we started a team that was too weak to do the job. I'm not going to buy that excuse anymore, because that second 11 that we have is that's potentially a top 6 or 7 side on its own. So yeah, I think as much as the window has kind of set us up to succeed, it's now also kind of increased the pressure, on the guys who need to be delivering the trophies now, and that's a healthy thing. That's what's
There should
supposed
be
to
pressure.
happen.
There has to be pressure. There
Yeah,
has to be. There's no squad that can be healthy without knowing that there is something there that has to be achieved. You have to look to achieve these things, and if there's not the pressure there to deliver, then what are we all doing here? We have to make sure that you understand what you've got on your chest, what you're meant to represent as a team. So
yeah,
I think that there can't be this constant weekly, oh, have to win this, have to win this, have to win this. But there should be this expectation of, look, we should be winning this, at least trying to put everything we can into it and not setting ourselves short, putting the maximum. I think Eze said it as well. He said,
yeah,
if it's meant to be, it'll be, but I'm going to do everything I can to make it happen. So that's the attitude we have to look and really make sure that happens. If we go out on our sword and we make sure that we put in a 38 game season that we can be proud of, then I don't think anyone will really get on it. I mean, obviously the people outside the club and people outside our fan base will get on it, and surely there'll be bits inside our fan base as well. But all we ask is that you don't let yourselves down, you don't sell yourself short, you don't get into positions where there's no need to be doing this. There's no need to be dropping these points. There's no need to be losing in this cup. Like the United FA Cup game is a perfect example of that. There was no need to lose that game. No need at all. So that's it, really. As long as you can show that you've put your best foot forward and really done something, then that's all we can really say. Look, and I do think if we do that, then we should be winning something this year. If you put your best foot forward for 38 games in a Premier League season and say 7 games in an FA Cup or however many games in the Champions League, and telling me we won't pick up something, I'll be shocked. So
yeah,
just do that and we're good. That's all I think anyone can ask for.
yeah. Just leave it all out there.
Mm-hmm.
Is like the 23-24 season, I look back fondly on, because for me that season is a story of a team that, yes, made some mistakes here and there, particularly kind of in
Christmas.
December.
Yeah.
We didn't do enough in the holiday season, but that back end of the season, we went 16-1-1 over 18 games,
Mm-hmm.
and we looked excellent. And the reason we didn't win anything is just because City were just that little bit better, and they were relentless, and
Mm-hmm.
that I can live with. But like 22-23 and kind of parts of what happened last season, that those are more tricky for me to swallow.
For example, those 3 games on the bounce we drew, the Southampton Palace and West Ham games we just drew back to back. The City lost 4-1. The red cards that we obviously, there was a couple that were complete bullshit, but for example the Trossard one, that we were on top in that game. We were absolutely on top in that game. There's the games where you're just thinking, even the Bournemouth one as well, like the Saliba one, where obviously Trossard puts him in a horrible situation, but it was just, I don't know. There was games last year where I thought, well, this isn't us. This isn't what we're meant to be doing. We're not doing things in the correct way. We're not playing with the urgency or the speed or the ferocity we were in previous seasons. And that's why last season was, as I said to you before, it was just like getting through the games. I don't like having that feeling where I just like, let's just get this over with and we can just move on with the day. Maybe we win, maybe we don't, maybe we draw. And the amount of draws we had was just ridiculous. So to be able to do that and now get to where we are right now and show that we're not looking to play that slow style, that slow methodical control style that will draw games but won't necessarily win games, it's good, because we have the defensive security to play with a bit more freedom, and we should, because we need that pace. We need the ability to break down blocks, especially mid blocks, where teams are looking to really squeeze the pitch in the middle and make sure we can't play through them, especially through the press. So having that ability like the Gyökeres today, where you can just go over and have him run in the channel and get through and score. That's a good sign. And being able to get to play with a bit more pace and a bit more urgency, that is a good sign as well. So yeah, it's a lot. There's a lot to work on, especially some of the tidiness of the play at times. But the intent is there and the aggression is there, and I really like to see that.
Yeah. And, I think that's the thing that we've stood to learn from the teams around us is that if you're a good attacking side, you can cover up a lot of flaws, a lot of blemishes.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that I had trouble reconciling last season, and I think a couple seasons before that as well, is this idea that matches could be ruined by a refereeing decision.
Yeah.
And that's occasionally true, right? If it happens against City or Liverpool, that does determine the outcome of a match, just because you're up against a team that's so good that if they get that little advantage, they're going to make it count 9 times out of 10. But when you're playing Bournemouth or when you're playing Fulham, or kind of a team lower down the Premier League table, I get it if they get awarded a penalty or you get sent down to 10 men at the in the 60th minute.
Yeah,
I get that makes the game harder.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we're at a point now where you should be able to overcome that. You should be able to, like, if you're creating, how do I put this? Like, the part of the reason why those instances can affect the game for us is because we weren't creating more than a handful of chances, right? We weren't consistently banging down the door on other teams' goals. So when you do that, you can fire in 3-4 goals a game, and then what does it matter if you're down to 10 men? What does it matter if the referee awards a penalty that maybe was bullshit, maybe wasn't? So it's really nice for me to see that we've kind of accepted that in how we play, and we're attempting to kind of go back to classic high chance creation Arsenal that tries to overcome the margins, and we don't make the margins thin enough where it's a 50-50 game most of the time. So yeah, I'm really happy with that.
Look, before you move
sure,
on,
yeah.
I think the best way to sum it up, because I was listening to you, I was thinking to myself, how can I sum it up? And I was just thinking is the best way to sum it up is if you want to defend, to win a game, you have to be switched on for 90 minutes. If you want to attack, you can win a game in a moment. And I think that's the best way you can sum it up, because say we win 1-0 like the Man United team, 1-0, set piece, win the game, but you have to be on for 90 minutes. You have to make sure that everything is correct for 90 minutes. So it's a difference. And it's so much tougher to do what we were doing and win than to do what a Liverpool would do, because they can go down 1-0 to Southampton. I remember that game, Southampton away. You can go down to Southampton 1-0, and then bang, Salah scores, bang, get another goal, bang, 3-1, and it's over. And there's nothing really you can do. I think it ended at 3-2 actually, but I can't remember exactly. But I remember they just turned it around in that second half, and they won the game, because attacking and winning is easier to do in moments rather than in large swathes of pressure, and it makes it playing that kind of football, really just dragging your line back and really just putting the nerves on it creates a nervous energy around you. The stadium, if you're playing at home, away it creates a fervour because the other team think they've got you because you're penned in, so you're really putting the pressure on yourself, and to do that for 90 minutes is tough. Fabregas said it as well. I remember seeing an interview with him at Como, and he was like, if you're 1-0 up and you bring on a defender, the whole line drops, because they would think that the coach wants you to defend, and you drop and you get more and more defensive, and you pen yourself in even though you're winning. So to win like that, to win dirty, to win ugly, isn't meant to be a game model. It's meant to be a get out of jail free card, and we've made it a game model. So that's the issue. And that's what I was thinking about while you were speaking, because you were saying it perfectly. Like, I think to actually defend and win that way is going to be much, much tougher. So to bring in a bit more verve, a bit more speed, a bit more attack, and a bit less conservatism is something that will really help us going forward in the future.
Yeah. And, we have the players to deal with the kind of increased vulnerability that brings, right? You've got Declan Rice and Gabriel and Saliba and Raya and Timber and Zubamendi and Lewis Skelly. That's a wealth of defensive talent. Make use of it. Lean on it a little bit instead of trying to kind of like you said, turn defending to win into a game model. So yeah, it's all really encouraging. Obviously, we'll need to see a little bit more before we have enough of a sample size, with which maybe we can start coming to conclusions about how we'll do this season. But yeah, it was a really encouraging game and a really fun day out. And unfortunately, the air is kind of sucked out a little bit by the Saka and Odegaard injuries on top of the Havertz injury. So just, but before we get out of here, I just kind of want to get your thoughts on how you would handle that going into the Anfield match. Like, what do you think that team should look like lining up at Anfield?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that if you're looking the back seven, I think it stays. Like, yeah. I think that doesn't change at all. So Urea, Timber, Saliba, Gabriel, Calafiori, Zubamendi, Rice. I don't think that changes. So Gyökeres doesn't change. The other thing is when you look at how the front three that behind them are going to be, it's probably going to be Madueke on the right. I think Nwaneri will start, but Eze will come on. I think Nwaneri is a bit more easier to because he's had that preseason. He's probably going to be a bit more fit. I think he'll probably start, and then I'll probably have Martinelli on the right. I'm on the left. Sorry, Frimpong out. Looks like it'll probably be Bradley. I don't know. He hasn't been playing. Don't know how he'll react to that. And I think there's sometimes you have players that like playing opposition, and Martinelli loves playing Liverpool. So I just think that sometimes you just have to go with the soft factors at times, because you don't have a Madueke on the left, so you probably have one of Martinelli or Trossard, and I would go with Martinelli personally. So that would be my 11.
Yeah, I think that's about what I would do as well. I really want to put Eze into a starting 11 at Anfield, but I feel like that's a crazy game to start him for the first time in. And also just, it's been a week. He's probably fit physically, but, he has to come to terms with the tactical side of what we do, particularly out of possession. And Anfield is a very challenging game out of possession to hand a first appearance to a player in. So he'll probably come off the bench for the closing stages of the match, whichever direction that goes. Are you worried about Martinelli at all?
I'm worried he might be sold, but outside of that, no, not really.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Like, if I'm looking at it and thinking, I'm worried about his form. I think that if you were going to buy a striker to get the best out of Martinelli, it would be Gyökeres. Like, this is someone that loves running the left channel and loves having someone come inside and play with him. So if he can't, like, either this is his last year, he's being sold. If this is his last year, he's got to put everything into proving himself. And I think he's one of those guys where it's like he has that like just mentally, he has that ability just to turn it on and really lock in. But the thing is, we haven't seen that form for so long. Can he get it back? Can he find that ability just to play that channel and really make those out to in runs, make those runs in behind, play centrally as well? Because Gyökeres will rotate out wide. So Will it be the same 2023 Martinelli? I very much doubt it, but we need to get something close to that from him if he's going to stay. And if he
Yeah.
doesn't get to that level, it looks like he'll probably be off next year. So either he gets sold now next year, or he comes back and really shows what he's about. So I don't think as a club there's nothing to worry about. For him, there's something to worry about, because I think we've shown this year that we're not willing just to just stay and try and do the same thing again and again. And it looks like he is in a contract year, so it's do or die now for him.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the reason I asked that question is because, in a 5-0 win, he didn't set foot on the pitch. And
Yeah, that's why I'm a bit, but I'm a bit like, is he really? Because there is obviously that whole deadline day loan for Rodrigo thing happening. Who did start left wing today? Let's be clear. So
Yeah.
there is always the Fafana thing as well as come up. There's still always the left winger rumours coming about. And last week it was Trossard on the bench, didn't see anything. This week it's Martinelli on the bench, didn't see anything. Are we in the market to do something? I don't know. And honestly, at this moment in time, I'm not too bothered. We've done enough. If something happens, great. If not, then that's an amazing position to be in, really. Like, if you want to do something, then great. If not, we've got 4 left wingers. Eze,
Yeah.
Trossard, Martinelli, and Madueke all can play on the left wing. So, I mean, Saka can play on the left wing if you really want him to. So, we've got a lot of talent at left wing. I'm not too worried about that position. So, I know a lot of people are, but the thing is, it'll be interesting to see what we do. And I think, does it? I can't remember. Let me just look up. Is it the first it finishes or the third? I remember reading it was the third.
I think it's the first.
That's what I thought, right? But I remember reading somewhere that it was the third. Let me just have a look. Just give me 1 second.
Yeah.
It was. That's what it was. It was February the 3rd and September the 3rd.
Okay.
That's why I got mixed up. So yeah, so it was September the 1st. We've got what, 7 days?
About a week.
We've got a week.
Yeah.
Less than that now, because it's not like they're going to be doing something at 9:30 in the evening. So it'll be 6 days now. So a lot of clubs need to do a lot of things. Like Brentford need to do stuff. Fulham haven't done anything. Like Bournemouth need to do stuff. But there's a lot.
Palace, Glasner multiple times has lamented how little they've done this
Palace,
summer.
I mean, there's been rumours today of them going back for Gallagher. So,
okay.
there's a lot of, I suppose now they've got the Eze money, they can, because remember, they can book it all for the first window, so they've now got the release clause money available, and they can obviously do instalments for the deal. So, for example, if you sign a £60 million player, you're paying 12 million over 5 years. So they have money now, they can do something with it. So they have the ability to do something. It's just a question of what they do now. And I think that's a question with a lot of clubs. Because I think a lot of clubs have sold a lot of players, but haven't really bought many in. I think looking at the likes of Kivior, Reese, Vieira, Lokonga, Zinchenko, these guys in my mind, we should get all of them gone. I still think we'll keep 1 or 2 of them. I just don't. There's just so little time left, And if we can do it, great. But
I could see Zinchenko sticking around for another season.
Yeah,
I think that's probably one that, especially if Kivior leaves, because if he takes off, then there's no guarantee that we'll find a left back that we like. So.
Yeah, true. I mean, this is the thing. I do think there would be. Thing is, we're not really that club in January, though, are we? Like, if we were to say, look, we'll go, maybe we'll let Zinchenko leave because he found an offer, and then maybe look in the market for 6 months and find someone in January. That could be a thing, but I don't see us doing that. I'm just curious to see how Berta handles these sales now, because he's done enough. The man has done enough. He's done a 250 plus million window. He's bought a lot of players in. Good on you. Just get some players out now. I don't want to be with this labelled with this, because they're already starting with this. Oh, he spent nearly £1 billion. They've already started. So can we get some sales, please? I don't want to be sat with this. They had a £200 million net spend. Well, shut the fuck up. You haven't done anything. Like, what do you want me to do? Okay, it's clear that it was needed to happen, and we've got rid of two incredibly large contracts on a free. That alone freed up so much money for us. So, because net spend only looks at sales, doesn't look at free agent releases, doesn't look at these bad contracts. So it's such a flawed metric. But that's beside the point. The point is we've got a week left to get some sales done, and maybe get one player in. If you're going to believe certain people, maybe even two, which I very much doubt.
There's no way.
There's no way. If we sign a left back and a left winger, that would just be. I don't even have words. There are no words. Okay, that's what 9 players for nearly 300 million. Like, that's just not happening.
Yeah, I'm as optimistic as they come, and I'm not.
I think we're done. I think, and I'm very happy with being done.
Yeah.
It would take the correct sales for another player to come. Let's put it that way.
Exactly. Yeah. I think if Kivior goes, then maybe we swing a left back. If we sell Martinelli, then maybe we'll go do the Rodrigo on loan thing.
Yeah.
Right. But we're not adding to this group as things stand. We're not trying to increase the number of players we have in the squad.
No.
So.
And I think with 5 departures, I think you'd add maybe 1 player.
Yeah.
Which is kind of crazy.
So,
which shows how good the squad is.
Yeah, and that's how it should be. It should be a big squad full of talented players who aren't children, who aren't guaranteed a professional contract with the club. So, So we'll see what happens. Really encouraging day on the whole. It's nice because the day of seeing the Saka injury and the Odegaard injury, I was a little bummed. But now that we're, a day removed from that, I'm already feeling a little bit better about it, especially considering reports coming out that apparently their scans have returned results that aren't as serious as initially feared. We'll see how true that is. I feel like a lot of those reports today have just been like, oh yeah, I'm hearing that they're not that bad, and then that's it. That's the report. So I would like a little bit more information. But all in all, feeling pretty good. So anything you want to touch on before we put a bow on this?
No, I think I'm good. I think the main things we've talked about, and if there was something to end on, is just enjoy what's happening. I think that's the only thing we talk about. I think there's so much misery going around right now, and people just wanting and craving us being mad or sad, that it's annoying people. You can see it's starting to annoy people that we're not unhappy. And if you're really want to feed into that, so be it. But I'm not, and I'm barely looking at it, because there's no point. There's nothing to be mad at. What is there to be mad at? 6 points. What am I meant to do? What am I going to shout about?
Well, I think that's when people have these conversations. People don't like it when Arsenal fans are having a good time.
Yep.
And I think people have gotten really accustomed to being able to rile us up and laugh at the fan base and all that stuff. And I think we're in a moment where most objective people feel pretty good about where the team is. And I think that doesn't sit right with people outside the fan base. So that's too bad. I'm going to keep having a good time.
Yeah.
And, when it's time to have a bad time, then I'll have a bad time. Yeah. But that's not right now. So, but yeah, thank you all for being here. Thanks for, kind of being with us through the season. And we hope that you stick around for the rest of the season, because, it's only going to get better. The content, at least. Hopefully we'll see what happens with the rest of the season. But I'm Sham. You can follow me on Twitter at Shamsdale. That's Curran. You can follow him on Twitter at CurranBOP. And this is Not That Kind of Gooner, which you can follow on Twitter at Not That Gooner, and on Blue Sky at notthatgooner.bsky.social, on Instagram at Not That Kind of Gooner, on TikTok at Not That Kind of Gooner. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel And if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please do leave us a 5-star review, as it does kind of get the word out to more and more people, puts the pod in front of them, and kind of just expands the reach of the podcast, which we'd really appreciate. So we will be back with you later this week to talk about the game some more, preview the Liverpool match, review any news that might happen between now and then. But until then, take care and keep your... What is the goddamn... I'm forgetting the motto for the pod. Get your mind out of the gunner. That's what it is. I got my mind out of something else. Yeah. So take care. Get your mind out of the gunner. And we will talk to you soon. So, bye. Bye.